my curiosity about astrology and human design, and then the gene keys, the I Ching, the Bagua map with Feng Shui, and a lifelong obsession with the seasons and cycles, the eight celebrations of the year, the Sabbats, as some call them, the Celtic calendar of the year, and just the patterns that we continuously live through over and over has been a point of endless fascination for me. So I wanted to share with you today some of where those things overlap and what I've discovered in my explorations. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you. And what you'll see is kind of a neat little rendition here. So you probably heard of the summer and winter solstice. Those are the longest day of the year for the summer solstice, which is also called Litha in the Celtic calendar. The shortest day of the year is the winter solstice, and that is called Yule. When you celebrate Sabbats or the Celtic calendar, there's 8 significant days around the wheel of the year. That's 2 of them. Another 2 are the equinoxes. Autumnal equinox is Mabon, spring equinox is Ostara. Now, from an astrological point of view, when the sun reaches the exact halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, that exact halfway point is called Imbolc. And that's usually around February 1st-ish. The halfway point between spring equinox and summer solstice is right around May 1st, and that's called Bealtaine or Beltane in English. But the Celtic views of these or pronunciations of these are different than how they're looking at, like in English spelling. In particular, when you look at the halfway point between the winter solstice and the autumnal equinox, it's spelled Samhain, but that is actually pronounced Samhain. And that is right around Halloween and All Souls Day. It's a November 1st kind of a date. And then I went out of order, but Lamas, or also called Lunasa, is halfway between the summer solstice and the autumnal equinox. So these are the 8 key days of the year. So here we've got a magic number of 8. And then we have 12 astrological zodiac signs. And these 12 signs make a 360-degree wheel. Okay, and each of these 30 degrees is associated with some kind of a specific theme. We call them houses. And I've got those written in here. But I want to look at what happens when we overlay the I Ching. Oh, we want that to be a little bigger. There we go. So when you take these 360 degrees and you divide it by the 64 symbols in the I Ching, you end up with one of these symbols covering about 5 to 6 degrees in the zodiac sign. And this is how you end up getting to gene keys. So we'll come back to that in a second. The next thing I want to overlay, because we're going to do really big picture stuff first. The next thing I want to overlay is a shift of what the Bagua map is based in. Now, keep in mind, I'm combining different systems, so they're not going to line up perfectly. This one, I actually flipped it to try to get it to line up a little better. And you could see that things are backwards here because I flipped it. But I did that to show you that there are 4 bottoms of these I Ching characters. And then when you combine those with the other set, and then another set, you're building these in layers, kind of like, think of them like Legos. So here's the bottom Lego, the middle Lego, and then the top Lego, and it gives you the total Lego. So like here, this with number 1 lines up. It used to line up. Well, this doesn't line up perfectly, as I said. Let's go to the actual Bagua map and give a reference point for this. Okay, let's make this a little bigger. All right, so here's these same symbols in sets of 3, because if you do these in terms of the eights. The reason they have 64 of these is because 8 times 8 is 64. So there's 8 basic patterns. And then when you stack the patterns, 3 plus 3, so these 3 plus these 3, that creates 1. These 3 plus these 3 create 1. And you do that 8 times 8, it's 64. And that's how you get to this 64 around the outside of here. These groupings here show you how to translate a system that works in a pattern of 8 into a system that can work into a pattern of 4 and then be compared to, let me block that one out. Hang on. There, a pattern of 12. So that eventually you get to a pattern of 12 by itself, and then we can overlay the I Ching. It's a lot, I know. Let's not go too far down that rabbit hole because we're trying to stay big picture and just look at, isn't it fascinating and exciting how this all works? So the next thing I want to show you is a human design chart, which looks like this. Okay, let's make that a little bigger. So it's like this, but in the middle now we have a human design chart instead. And I want you to see how, they're the same numbers around the outside. But now those numbers correspond to elements within this human design. So each of these 9 centers have a specific meaning, and depending on where the astrology was when you were born, if we go back to here, like let's say that you're an Aquarius, like a 15-degree Aquarius, so you're halfway between the beginning and the end of Aquarius, then you were born at gate 13, they would call it. And here would be the I Ching association with that. And then gate 13 on this chart would also be in Aquarius. It corresponds with that 13. Now, what I want to point, and each of these means something. So your head, your root, your magnetic monopole. This one's your heart center. This is your magnetic monopole. Don't get hung up on the language if you're not a human design person. That's not the point. The point of this is I want to show you this pattern. Look at these yellows, all of these yellows. So these, you can see there's a color pattern here. So blue, dark blue, dark blue, dark blue, right? Purple here, light blue here, orange. You can see the oranges and the reds, and then this other shade of red and this sort of salmon-y color. All right, but the yellow, pay attention to the yellow, and this is called your magnetic monopole or G center. The reason I want you to pay attention to that yellow is because the next picture, it's so exciting. Look at this. Those 8 sections of the year. These, winter solstice, Mabon, Samhain, Yule, Imbolc, etc. See the connection there? They are the same as these yellows that go to your G center, and that's your point of attraction. And it aligns with the wheel of the year. And I just find that so magical and encouraging and beautiful, that it just makes you want to go deeper and deeper into the spirals of how does this all work and what does it all mean? I had another chart of the Bagua map that I missed before to show you, but that'll be good. It will we'll rewind. So the Bagua map has these 8 base sections, which are then shown over here as a converted version to get them to 12 to fit the 360 degrees of the Zodiac. And then we talked about this Bagua map and how it deals with certain areas of your life. And these patterns come together to create the 64 because these are 8. And when you combine them, 8 times 8, this plus this, or this plus this, and this plus this. 8 times 8 is 64. That's how you get these 64. These 64 have exact meanings with astrological information that also match up with your human design information. Isn't that cool? All right, then the last piece is gene keys. So this is a gene keys chart And each of these represents something specific in the gene keys. There'll be numbers in there, and those numbers will be like these numbers, like a 13, a 10, and 11, the human design gates. And they're based on, again, where were planets when you were born. So this grouping up here, when you look at all 6 of them, is called the star pearl. And the green is your activation. That's your sun and your earth, your conscious sun and earth, and then your unconscious sun and earth based on your human design. And again, this video is not meant to go that deep. This is just the big picture overview. Your Venus sequence is sort of your emotional and relational journey. And then your pearl sequence is your essence, how you are of work in the world and how you are living your purpose. And we are in a time of human evolution that more and more of us are naturally evolving into the essence of our life path, our work, whereas our ancestors were more into survival and building relationships. And as we've been evolving in our human systems, all of this ancient information helps us put it into perspective, because clearly with these mystery schools, our ancestors, many of them were masters in this way and put together these systems where we could deeply look at cycles and seasons and directions and elements and seasonal celebrations and the zodiac and gene keys and human design, all under the sun's movement and, of course, the moon's movement, which I specialize with in my work with Moon Feather Hollow. And there'll be links and things you can learn more about that. But for the purposes of this video, I hope I've opened your mind to the magic of what is available, because this is such juicy, rich information that we're only going to go deeper from here. The Wheel Within will be some coursework, journey work coming out in the near future, where we're going to go deep into this yellow bit in your own personal chart to really discover how your magnetic monopole is operating in the world and how you can move more into, in your gene keys, your work in the world, your evolution, your purpose, your joy, your vocation, your vocational bliss. And of course, I also offer one-on-one if you want to go deeper into any of these. I wanted to share a little bit, like this middle one here is your Jupiter. So wherever Jupiter was when you were born, that's a big deal. We love to go deep with that. And this one is where Venus was when you were born, and this one where Mars was. So you've kind of got that male-female thing going on. Your sun sign at the very top here kind of shows an overview of what you're all about, and it will correspond very much with your astrological sun sign. So to give you a sense of this, I'm going to show you my gene keys chart, and then just dip into a little bit of it. Again, this is only meant to be an overview, because each of these could be their own, 12-hour course. This is just the overview. Okay, there, now I've got mine open. And you can see I didn't include the whole thing. There's enough here to look at, but let's just look at my life's work, 48.6. So why is that a 48.6? So first of all, let's find 48 on this chart. It's going to be in Libra, which is, so there's Libra. There's 48 right there. So that represents this chunk of degrees. If you look at Libra being from about a little over 46 all the way through halfway through 50, this 30 degrees divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I Ching patterns means that there are 6 different sections of the 30 degrees. Divide the 30 by 6, and you end up with about 5 different sections of the 48. So like here's 5, 4, 6, 3. That's because we're taking 30 degrees, we're dividing it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, depending on the exact zodiac degrees. Again, these are similar systems, but not identical. And so when you want to take 360 degrees and divide it by 64 I Chings, each of those 30-degree segments is going to have like leftovers. So it's like a remainder. So it's like 0.5, 0.3, 0.6. So if you were born at 46.1, that might be like October 3rd. And 46.2 could be October 4th. And 46.3 could be October 5th. Anyway, I'm 48.6. I said 46 point, doesn't matter. You get the point. I'm 48.6, and that equated, that year that I was born, that equated to October 8th, which is my birthday. So that's my life's work, and it's wisdom and resourcefulness and overcoming the shadow of inadequacy and being a teacher. And so this is my life's work. This is what I'm doing. I'm learning about all these systems because I'm very resourceful and I want to learn all these things. And it stems from, the gift of my inadequacy of being someone who's like, what? I don't understand. How does life work? How does the world work? What makes human beings tick? What are we all about? I don't, just that sense of needing to know and I am not complete. I feel inadequate. I don't know enough. I want more resources. Like that really drives my work. So that's one small example of me and how this works and how it layers back to my human design. But that's the next thing I'm digging deep into, and that's why I'm going to be doing this course on the Wheel Within. Because as I look, I know that I'm absolutely in love with the autumn time of the year when I was born. And, from an I Ching perspective, that's about the sun and wind, and that's fire and air. And in my astrological chart, I am all about fire and air. So there's patterns here. There's patterns that we can find and that we can dig into to learn about ourselves and just get excited about our own natural gifts and what we're here to do. And the world needs us. The world needs us all to be different and all of us to have our own natural gifts. I'll stop sharing so you can see me and my excitement instead. The world needs you. The world needs you to know what you're on about. So I'd love to help you figure out what you're on about. This is fun. This is juicy, fun stuff. So stay in touch. Sign up for a newsletter. Check out the sparky courses we have available through Moonfeather Hollow, or however you want to participate, because we're so excited about the evolution of humanity and how we are all growing and changing. Even though it's painful sometimes, the shadow work has to be done. There's gold to be found. So join me. Let's find some gold.